Today I'm going to talk about Battle of St. Louis. This is a game from the Historical Game Company. Designer is Steve Kling, who's also the proprietor of the game company. And this is one of the games that he sent to me. I've bought several of the Historical Game Company's games, and also Steve has sent me a few as well. So I'm slowly getting around to playing them multiple times, and as I get multiple plays, I try to get some after action reports and talk about gameplay. So with that, let's talk about this. This is a game. Uh, the Battle of St. Louis is about a battle during the American Revolutionary War. It is between the Spanish and the British and some Native American forces as well, but primarily on the British side. Um, in this situation, it is kind of it's a more of a siege type game. You're trying to get into the the city of St. Louis, or the area of St. Louis, into the governor's mansion here. And there's this huge tower right here, Fort San Carlos Tower, that is very prominent and very hard to get around for the British. So the British win if they can get into the governor's mansion, or if they occupy some of these settler territories, while at the same time destroying a certain number of Spanish units. The Spanish win by preventing the British victory condition, and they have to survive 24 turns to do that, or they eliminate 16 of the British units, which is what happened in this case. The British forces are going to have three areas where they enter in, which are predominantly the units are predominantly Native American tribes that are comprised of the Sioux, the Sac and Fox, and the what's the third one? Sioux, Sac and Fox, and the Winnebago. And so each one of those three are going to enter into this point, and then they're going to come on the board and try to get through this defensive line. You can see there's a defensive structure around this St. Louis area. And again, that tower is very prominent in the defense. There's also some artillery and swivel artillery, as well as other forces for the Spanish to defend this area. And what happened is it's really kind of hard for the British to break these defenses. I played this a few times now, and I've yet to have a British victory. I'm not saying that it can't be done. It's just that when I've played them, I haven't figured it out, and my opponents haven't figured it out just yet. But we'll see. There's still time. How is the game played? Well, the game is kind of a card-driven game in that regard, because you're going to draw these cards. The British will go first, and the British on the first two turns can move all their forces and attack with all their forces. But after that, they're limited to these cards. And the Spanish forces are always limited to these cards. And basically, these cards are going to tell you how many units you can move, how many units can attack, and then any kind of special abilities for that turn. And special abilities could range from getting bonuses to certain troops or to certain units, or bringing some certain units back from the eliminated pile, or being able to rally certain troops. Normally you have to be outside someone's zone of control before you can rally. That means flipping them from their disorganized side back to their organized side. I think it's called disorganized, isn't it? Anyway, so the cards really drive a lot of the disordered is the right term there. The cards really drive play, because they're going to, other than those first two turns for the British, the cards are going to dictate how you move and how you attack. And so that's very limiting for the British as well. Now, the British usually get more units that can move and attack than the Spanish, but the Spanish really aren't interested in doing a lot of maneuvering. They want to stay behind this protected area, and because they get a bonus of +2. Here's the chart for this. Shows you that they get a +2 as a defender behind the entrenchment line. So they're really wanting to stay behind here and make the British come to them, or the Native American forces under the British come to them. And that's really kind of tough to do. So you're trying to find, maneuver and try to find some holes, trying to exploit those holes. Like this one was finally exploited down here, but the victory condition for the Spanish ended up giving them where they didn't have the opportunity to exploit that and move in and take over that area. So you're basically going to you're going to move. There's defensive fire. Not all, the British, there's only one unit. There's a trader unit that can do defensive fire. That most of the Spanish units can do defensive fire. There's also a range factor on these, as you can see here. So you have attack of 2, defense of 3, movement of 3, and then that 2 in the red circle there is its range for this unit. And so all units are going to have those factors of attack, defense, movement, and range. So you'll do defensive fire, and then you'll do an attack. And the way you do combat is you're going to roll a die, you're going to add your attack value, and then compare that and any other terrain modifiers or defense modifiers that might be at play. And then you'll compare it to the defending unit, their defense. And if you exceed it, by 1, then it gets disordered. If you exceed it by 2 or more, then it gets removed from the game. And they generally don't come back, but there are a few cards that bring a few cards back. You're going to go through this deck. There's 10 cards for each side. When you get to the end of it, you'll shuffle it and start using it again. And there's certain cards in here that have effects that happened on the second time around. Like these units off to the side here for both the Spanish and for the British, they don't come in until you go through that card a second time. So really you need to go through that. You're going to need to get into turns 11 through 24 to get access to some of those units. And that's about it. I mean, I wouldn't play the game based on this description, but this kind of gives you an overview of how the game plays. Again, this is more of a siege type situation. They're all moving in this direction and trying to break into this defended position here. And it's really hard for the British. And the British have more forces, but the Spanish have a better defensive position and have more ranged, some of these swivel guns and artillery, they have a lot more ranged ability. Plus they have some of these special units that have really high attack and morale, which, makes it tougher again for the British. So there you have it. The Battle of St. Louis, interesting game. The system is pretty much standard and core for all the historical games, the historical game company games, at least the ones I've played and have. And there's a few special rules, like this one. The British can move everything in the first couple rounds. Some of the units are special. Somehow these units come into play might be special. That's all going to be geared to the specific scenario. And I'll put a link in the description to my unboxing so you can see all the components. I mean, the cards are fine, the units are fine. It has a cloth board. It's really nice. And again, this is all sourced by Blue Panther, but I'll put a link to that in the description if you want to find out a little bit more about that. But there you have it. That is my take on, after a few plays, of the Battle of St. Louis. I like this system. I like these games. They're covering battles that are, I don't know of any other game that covers the Battle of St. Louis. I didn't even know about it till this game. So anyway, I like the system, and I like the topics that it covers. Anyway, That's what I have for you today. If you've played this or are interested in the Historical Game Company games or played any of the other ones, feel free to chime in on the comments and let everybody else know. Take care. Thanks for watching.